If you are currently in a back office finance job or are in a non-finance role and are trying to break into the industry, I made this video for you because I wanted to clarify what are inevitable misconceptions about what finance is really all about. Now, first of all, before we even get into this, understand that there are a ton of finance jobs out there. In fact, there are 2.3 million finance professionals in the US alone. That's not including anywhere else in the world. But one of the big problems in terms of understanding how to break into finance is just understanding what these finance jobs are all about in the first place. And a big part of that is the problem that everything is commingled into sort of this one title of finance job or financial analyst. And that title and finance job is just one catch-all umbrella is really, really misleading. And that's because there are really two broad types of finance jobs when it comes to making sense of them for career purposes. The first is the kind of finance job that you think about when you're thinking about Office Space. If you've seen that movie from the 90s, this is a movie where you're just doing a lot of data entry. It tends to be boring. Compensation tends to be on the lower end. This is the type of sort of back office finance role, and it can range anywhere from accounting to custodial accounting work, fund accounting, transaction services, a whole bunch of stuff related to the back office of finance. And you can really think about it like, if you're an NBA player, there's a whole ecosystem around supporting the NBA player. So the back office finance role is about supporting the actual show, right? Then you think about the front office, and movies have glamorized this. Movies like Wolf of Wall Street, where you are thinking about finance in this crazy, glitzy, glamorous way. Now, the reality, having come from that front office role, my career started at JP Morgan in the Mergers and Acquisitions group. It was really not like that. This is a highly glamorized version of what happens on the job, but these roles tend to be far more rigorous, both in terms of the amount of time you're spending in the office every week. So it's not all, it's not all great. You're working 80, 90, sometimes 100-hour work weeks, but the compensation is also orders of magnitude greater than those back office roles. But perhaps even more interestingly, and more importantly, the nature of the work tends to be far more interesting. That's not to say there isn't anything mundane about it, and that's not to say that you're not going to be spending a lot of time in PowerPoint, moving and aligning boxes, and spending time in Excel, moving things around and formatting. But the substance of the work, you're in the main show. And what I mean by that is you are involved, albeit when you're starting on the ground level of mergers and acquisitions, you're figuring out, and you're part of the process of bringing companies together. You're part of the process of taking companies public. If you're what's called the buy side, you are an investor and you are making decisions, or at least you're part of making decisions about what institutional investors are going to hold in their portfolios, right? So this is fundamentally interesting work. Now, so with all of that, you have higher compensation, more interesting work, obviously more rigorous work as well. But understanding that those two types of roles are broadly quite different, and the process for breaking into the more alluring one is very challenging. So the question is, how do you go from a back office finance role or a non-finance role to begin with to this more alluring and front office type of position? And even that is not a monolith. There are multiple ones, as I just said, from mergers and acquisitions to buy side to other parts of equity research, other parts of finance that are, again, this sort of front office type of stuff. Well, the answer to how do you go from here to there is just, first of all, understanding that big high level difference. That's the first step. But then also understanding that the skill set that got you to a back office finance role, and that means having gone through maybe accounting or finance in school, and the skill set that you're going to need to develop in a front office finance role is really, really different. And in fact, when I left JP Morgan to start Wall Street Prep, that was the entire mission of the company. At this point, we train the front office investment banks themselves. And so they hire us, the private equity firms will hire us, the financial institutions will hire us to run training programs for their young people so that they're prepared once they get to these front office roles. But we also train individuals who are trying to break in. And what we do is we actually take what you learn in school, and that's basic accounting, corporate finance, those academic concepts, and we marry that to what you'd actually be doing on the job. And the substantive difference between a back office role and a front office role is really you have to understand the financial statements of a company from an investor perspective. You have to understand how the financial statements from a financial modeling perspective work. You have to understand how transactions need to be analyzed and modeled. You have to understand how valuation is done, not just academically and not just conceptually, which is really, really important, but also how it's done in practice on the job. And on the job, it's not like that's perfect either, because you take a lot of shortcuts on the job as well. But what are those shortcuts? And ultimately, developing that language, developing that skill set gives at least the reason that we created this company is to give that skill set, which I think is actually quite learnable, to make that skill set available to anybody who wants it. So what I wanted to go through are just examples. These are real learners who have gone through our programs. Right? These are actual emails that we get, and we get them all the time. And they talk about the kind of impact that these courses have made in exactly this, sort of leveling up from either a non-finance role and I'm transitioning to finance, or I'm in a back office role and I want to move up. And so, this one states it out fairly clearly. The premium package, which is the name of our sort of core financial modeling program, got me my job. After running through the financial statement and DCF modeling courses, I was able to masterfully walk through valuing a company. I graduated from an accounting program, wanted to get into these more front office corporate finance M&A focused jobs. So this is just one of many, and I'll read a couple just to give you a sense of how are people leveling up. And so in this one, it was, what was your main goal when you enrolled in the premium package? Well, I was in the middle of a recruitment process for an investment bank, and I love the program, and I just got an offer from Santander, IB M&A, and most likely will get another from the IB boutique that I mentioned above. Right? So the program, and the list goes on here, I've improved my skills in financial analysis and Excel for my current job. This is someone who's actually trying to move up within an existing role. Premium package got me my job. I've discussed the course in 2 interviews now, and recruiters loved it. So the idea is, this is quite a distinct program from maybe what else is out there, in that it's not only it's not designed to actually just pass the interview, right? When we created this company and the courses that go into here, what we want to do is not give you the skill set to ace an interview, although for many people that's the first step and you have to ace the interview. But the goal here is to actually mimic the type of work that you do on the job. And what that does is, of course, it helps you ace the interview because you actually understand what the work is like. But then once you get to your desk, you have the confidence, you've got that learning curve. You're not going to learn everything through a program, but our view has always been you can get pretty far just by taking a step back and going through these step-by-step programs that give you that level up. And unfortunately, that isn't really available in an academic setting. That's only available through a program like this, where you are learning from practitioners who've actually sat at the desk and gone through the challenge. And obviously the final piece of it is we're well aware that in reality, you not only need to learn this stuff, but you need to be able to demonstrate that you have successfully learned this to employers. And so one of the most popular aspects of the course is that when you're done with a program like this, you're able to very easily demonstrate that on LinkedIn and represent that you have earned a credential through an exam and through a certificate that actually represents that you've accomplished something. Now, what makes this program particularly unique is because Wall Street Prep is the leading trainer at the financial institutions, they're well aware of the credibility and the value of a program like this. So hopefully that was a good few minutes spent on just understanding what is the path to breaking in from the outside to inside. Good news is it's a very learnable skill set. It doesn't take, hundreds and hundreds of hours to learn. Ultimately, you need to know basic math to do the kinds of financial modeling that most investment bankers and private equity professionals are doing. But you have to know how to do it. You have to understand what documents are involved, what the real world nuances are of it, so that you can walk the walk and talk the talk.